Now we will discuss about JavaScript variables. JavaScript variables. Variables are simply storage locations in memory where we can store a value in that and to use it as a part of any expression. In JavaScript, variables are implicitly typed. That is, the data type of variable will be determined according to the value assigned. For example, I'm having x variable and I'm giving a value as 10 for that x variable. If I store 10 value inside my x variable, then x will be considered as integer data type. If I store any string, like I want to store my name Hemant, I'm storing in x variable, then that x will be considered as string variable. We will see an example. First we will make a note about this, and they do not have any predefined data types. Variables are simply storage locations in memory where you can store a value and use it as a part of any expression. JavaScript variables are implicitly typed. That is, the data type of variable will be determined according to the value which is assigned to that variable. They do not have any predefined data types. And JavaScript allows to use variable directly without defining it. If not in strict mode. If our JavaScript code is not in strict mode, then it allows to use variable without defining it. We will see the syntax. For example, I am creating a x variable. Inside this, I am storing 10 as a value. If I store 10 as a value, then our JavaScript will consider it as integer data type. If I store x is equal to some name, then our JavaScript will consider this X variable data type as string data type. If I store X is equal to true, then our JavaScript will consider this as a boolean data type. This is how variables we can define in our JavaScript code. If we are using JavaScript without strict mode, it allows variable without defining it. Means we are not writing any var or let or const. We are not defining it. We are directly assigning we are directly assigning an integer number to my X variable. If our JavaScript code is not in strict mode, then it allows to store data inside variable directly. We will see an example. Just go to Visual Studio Code. Create a JavaScript file. I just want to create a10.java, a10.html, type HTML. Inside this we have head section, then body section. Inside head section I will create a script tag. Inside the script tag I will write a function, and I will give function name as f1. Inside this function I want to use X variable. Inside this X variable I want to store 10 as a number. Then I want to print this by using, we have output function called document.write. Inside this function, this is a X variable. I want to print my X variable. Then I have to call this function f1. Here I am not defining this variable with var keyword. Directly I am using variable name x and I am storing 10 as a value inside my x variable without defining it. This is valid if we are using our script without strict mode. I am not using my script code inside strict mode. That's the reason it will allow x is equal to 10. We will see in browser whether my x will be visible or not in browser. Just go to our web page, name is a10.html. Save it, Ctrl S. Go to browser, search for our page a10.html. Yeah, x is equal to 10. It is showing me my x value. Now I want to use my script inside strict mode. Use strict. Now my JavaScript code is in strict mode. Then my x is equal to 10 will not be visible. It will not allow x is equal to 10 because we are using strict mode. If you use strict mode, then you have to define your x variable with a keyword called either var or let or const. We will discuss about all those keywords in our next video lectures. Now go to browser, refresh it. X is equal to 10 is 10 we are not x is equal to 10 we are not seeing in our browser. This is how use strict works in our web page. Now I want to see x is equal to 10 with strict mode. Means you have to follow JavaScript standards and guidelines. You have to declare your variable with var keyword. Now I am declaring or defining my x variable with var keyword. Save it, Ctrl S. Now go to the browser, refresh it, x is equal to 10. This is how we can work with our JavaScript variables. Our JavaScript variables are declared by using following keywords like var, let, const. We will discuss about that now. First, we will make a note about this. JavaScript variables must be defined if it is in strict mode. Next, we will discuss about the keywords which we use for variables. JavaScript JavaScript variables are declared by using following keywords. They are, first one has a var, second one we have let keyword, and third keyword we have const. These are the keywords we use for our variable to store a data. First we will discuss about var keyword. When to use var keyword, we will discuss about that. var is used to define function scope variable. It is accessible anywhere within the function. We use var keyword to define variable in only a function scope. It is not accessible outside the function. It is accessible anywhere only within the function which we declared var keyword. We will see an example of var keyword. Go to Visual Studio Code. We will see from this page, just delete it. I want to write a function f1. Inside this function, I am using var keyword to store in x variable as value 10. I will write a if condition. Inside this, I will write a condition x double equal to 10. If x double equal to 10, then var y is equal to, I want to store 20 in this y. Then I want to print document dot write inside this x is equal to plus x. Then we have y. I want to print my y variable. Just save it, Ctrl S. Here x I have defined with var keyword inside my function. That's the reason x is equal to 10 is visible in our browser because we are writing inside the same function. I'm using if condition. Inside this if condition, I am storing where y is equal to 20 and I am printing x value and y value. Y value also valid because we have declared y value inside if condition, but it is inside the function. We are not declaring our where y is equal to 20 outside this function. We are declaring inside this function f1. That's the reason y is valid. If I declare this where y is equal to 20 outside the function or in any other function, then this is invalid. You cannot print y value if you use in outside the function. This is valid function. Just save it, Ctrl S. Our HTML page name is a10.html. Go to browser, a10.html, refresh it. I forgot to call our function f1. Save it, Ctrl S. Go to browser, refresh it. X is equal to 10, y is equal to 20. It is showing both values because I have declared where y is equal to 10 inside the same function. That's the reason it is printing my x and y value. Next we have let keyword. Let is a keyword which is used to define block scope variable so that it is not accessible outside the specific block. Whatever the variable you are defining with let keyword, it is accessible only inside that block. That variable is cannot accessible outside the specific block. We will see an example. First I will make a note about this. Let is used to define block scope variable so that it is not accessible outside the specified block. We will see how this let keyword will work in our web page. Just go to our HTML page, delete this function. We want to use let keyword in our function. I am just creating function f1. Inside my f1 function, I am creating a var keyword first. With var keyword, I am storing x is equal to 10 in my x variable. Then I will use if condition. In this condition, I will write x double equal to 10. Then I will write let y is equal to 20. Then I will write document.write. I want to print x value and y value. Now in my function f1, y value y is equal to 20 will not be printed from my document.write. Why? Because my y is equal to 20, I'm using for my y is equal to 20, I'm declaring with a keyword LET. LET is a block scope. This LET y is equal to 20 I'm using in a if block. If I print this y from the same if block, then our y will be printed. But I am printing my y is equal to 20 outside of this if block. That's the reason y is equal to 20 will not be seen in my output. In this function, I am using two keywords var and let. By using var keyword, in x variable I am storing 10, and by using let keyword, I am creating y variable, I am storing 20 value, and I am using document.write to print x and y value. Above syntax is invalid as y is a block scope and it is not accessible outside this block, and we are printing our y outside of if block because I have defined my y is equal to 20 with let keyword, which is a block scope. That's the reason let y is equal to 20 is a if block scope. I cannot print outside this if block. That's the reason this is a invalid syntax. Go to browser, refresh it. You will not see any output because our code is a invalid syntax. Because for y I am using let keyword which is block scope and I am printing y value from outside this block. That's the reason this syntax is invalid. The variables declared using var and let will allow shadowing, which is the process of defining same name identifier with different value. The variables which is declared by using var or let will allow shadowing, which is the process of defining same name identifier with different values. Means if I use var and let keyword to define my variable, it will allow shadowing. Shadowing is nothing but, for example, I am storing a 10 value in my x by defining with var keyword, and I am declaring with var x is equal to 20. Then it will allow me shadowing for this var and let keyword. X will be printed as 20. We will see an example how this var and let will allow shadowing. Just go to Visual Studio Code, delete this function. Function F1. Inside this function, I will use a var keyword. First, I will store 10 in my var keyword x. Then I will write if condition. Inside this, x double equal to 10. Inside this, I will do shadowing for my x variable with same x name. I am using var x is equal to 20. Now I want to print document.write. Inside this I want to print x value. What is going to happen, what is happening in our code is I'm using var keyword. I'm storing x is equal to 10 in my x variable by using var keyword. Our var keyword will allow shadowing. That's the reason if we use our x keyword our x variable again by using var keyword, then modified value will be printed as output. Now again I am doing shadowing for my x variable with var x is equal to 20. it will allow shadowing. That's the reason x value is modified from 10 to 20. Now x will be printed as 20. Just save it, Control S. First call this function f1, save it, go to browser, refresh it. Now x is printing as 20. Next we will discuss about const keyword. The keyword const is used to declare a constant value that cannot be overridden. Our const keyword will not allow shadowing, which means if I declare by using const keyword, like for example x is equal to 20, then again I am doing shadowing for my x variable has x is equal to 20, then x is equal to 20 will not be printed and the code is invalid because const keyword will not allow shadowing. The value cannot be overridden. First we will make a note about this. The keyword const is used to declare a constant value that cannot be overridden. That is, it will not allow shadowing. We will see an example with our const keyword. Just go to Visual Studio Code. I will write a function f1. Inside this function, I am going to use const keyword with x variable. I am storing 10 value. Then I will use if condition. Inside this, I will write condition x double equal to 10. Inside this, I will do shadowing for my x variable. Const x is equal to 20. Now I want to print this document dot write. Inside this, I want to print x variable x. Save it. Now the syntax is invalid because x is already defined with const variable, whereas const will not allow to redefine the same variable as another data. It will not allow any shadowing. If we declare a variable with const keyword, that variable is a constant. You cannot change the variable, you cannot modify the variable data by using that variable name by shadowing. This is an invalid syntax. Just save it, go to browser, refresh it. You will not see any output because our syntax is invalid. Now we will see an overview what we have discussed till now. We have discussed about 3 keywords. Keyword, scope, and shadowing. First we have discussed about var keyword. Var keyword scope is within the function and it will allow shadowing. We can modify the value. Next we discussed about LET keyword. LET keyword is a block scope. It also allows shadowing. Then we have const keyword. Const keyword is a block scoped. Our const keyword will not allow shadowing. You cannot modify the value if you use const keyword. And our JavaScript variables support hoisting, which is a process used to translate, which is a process used by translator where it will process the code declaration following by code rendering. We will see how to do this, and it is irrespective of the sequential order of the statements. First we will make a note about this. JavaScript variables supports hoisting. Hoisting is nothing but you can declare variable anywhere inside the function. You call it as hoisting. That means our JavaScript supports hoisting. We will see the example. First I will make a note about this, which is a process used by translator where it will process the code declaration followed by code rendering irrespective of the sequential order of the statements. JavaScript variable supports hoisting, which means we can declare our variable anywhere inside the function. This is how our JavaScript supports hoisting in our variables. We will see an example about JavaScript hoisting. Just go to Visual Studio Code. I will write a function f1. Inside this function, I will declare a variable x is equal to 10. Then I will print it document.write. Inside this, I will print x value x. Inside this, I am printing x. Then now I will declare my variable with a keyword. That means I will declare variable after document.write var x. I am declaring my variable with var keyword after assigning my integer value to my x variable. This is a valid syntax because you can declare variable anywhere inside the function because JavaScript supports hoisting. This is the process of JavaScript hoisting. First I have defined x is equal to 10 means I am storing my integer value in x. But here I am not declaring my x variable with any keyword. After writing document.write, at the end of my function, I am declaring my x variable with var keyword. This is a valid syntax because our JavaScript supports hoisting. Just save it, Ctrl S. Now go to browser, just refresh it. I forgot to call our method. F1, save it. Now go to browser, refresh it. X is equal to 10. We are not getting any errors because x is equal to 10 document.write, and I am declaring my variable at the end of the function because it's a valid code. JavaScript supports hoisting. This is what about hoisting. And we can define our variable as global scope. The global scope for variable is defined by declaring it outside the function and within the script element. If we declare a variable outside the function and within the script, then that variable is a global scope. Any function can use. If you write hundreds of functions, if you want to use that variable, you can use it in any functions because that variable is defined as global scope. First, we will make a note about this. The global scope for variable is defined by declaring it outside function and within script element. Global scope for variable is defined by declaring it outside the function and within script element. We will see example how we can work with global scope variables. Just delete this function. I will declare a x variable as global scope. I'm not declaring my variable inside any function. I am declaring my variable as global scope where x is equal to 10. This is a global scope variable. I can use this variable in any function. Now I am writing function f1. Inside this function I will print my variable document.write x. Now I will write another function f2. Inside this f2 function I will declare, I will print document.write. I will print x variable x. Now I want to call these methods f1. I want to call these functions f1 and f2. I am declaring a global scope variable where x is equal to 10, and I am using this global variable inside two functions. From my two functions I want to print x is equal to 10 value. This is a valid syntax because our x is accessible to both the functions because our x is equal to 10 is a global variable. Just save it, Ctrl S, go to browser, refresh it. Here we are seeing x is equal to 10 and x is equal to 10. Two function outputs we are seeing in our browser. This is how we can work with our global scope variables. Here I will write 1 and I will write 2. Save it, Ctrl S, go to browser, refresh it. x1 is equal to 10 and x2 is equal to 10. This is our first function and this is our second function. This is about global scope variables. And our global scope variables we can define within function by using the keyword window. If you declare a x variable with window keyword, then that variable is a global scope. If you define that variable inside the function also, if you declare it with a window keyword, then it is a global scope variable. First we will make a note about this, then we will see example. A global scope for variable can be defined within function by using the keyword window. A global scope variable can be defined within the function by using keyword window. In a function, I am declaring a x is equal to 10 variable and I am using window keyword to my variable. If I use window keyword to my x variable in a function, then it will be considered as a global scope variable because we are using it with window keyword. We will see an example. Just go to Visual Studio Code, delete all this. I am writing a function f1. Inside this function, I am declaring x variable with window keyword. Window dot x is equal to 10. Then I will write another function f2. Inside this, I want to print x variable. Document dot write x. Here in my f1 function, I am declaring x is equal to 10 has a global scope. This x is equal to 10 is a global scope within the function because we are using x is equal to 10 with window keyword. Then it will be considered as a global variable, means it can be accessible to any other functions in this script. Now I am using x is equal to 10 with window keyword. I want to print this 10 value from another function. This is a valid syntax if we use window keyword with x variable. This x is equal to 10 will be global scope. It is a global variable if we use inside the function also. Save it, Ctrl S, go to browser, refresh it. I forgot to call these functions. Now we can call just f2 function to print a value. Just save it, Ctrl S. I have to call f1 function, save it, Ctrl S, or refresh it. We are seeing x is equal to 10. I am printing x value from different function and I am initializing x value in a different function. This is how we can work with window keyword as global variable. And our JavaScript variables are case sensitive. JavaScript variables are case sensitive. Means I will show you the syntax. For example, I am using const keyword with x is equal to 10 and I am using const keyword with capital letter X is equal to 20. If I write the same code in my JavaScript, then Above syntax is valid because we are using small letter x and capital letter X. Both are different identifiers in JavaScript. This syntax is valid because small x and capital X both are different identifiers in JavaScript. Our JavaScript will consider as this is a different identifier and this is a different identifier because our JavaScript variables are case sensitive. Our JavaScript will take this as small x is equal to 10 and it will take our capital X is equal to 20. Both are valid because x and small x and capital X both are different identifiers. For example, I am using var name is equal to John and I am using var capital letter name is equal to some Paul. This is a valid syntax because our JavaScript will consider this is a valid syntax because small letter name is different and capital letter name is a different identifiers in our JavaScript. And JavaScript variable name must start with alphabet or underscore. It should not start with any digit. A JavaScript variable name must start with alphabet or underscore. I will show you the example. For example, var name is equal to var name. Name is a variable name. We are starting our variable name is starting with alphabet n. This is a valid. And I am using var keyword. I'm using underscore name. This is also a valid because our starting letter is underscore. We can use underscore. Now I am using var keyword and I am using digit. Second name. This is invalid because variable name should not start with digits. And one more thing, var first name. This is also invalid because if you are using two words in a name, then you have to use underscore in between. How? I will show you. Var first underscore then name. This is how we can define variable in our JavaScript. This is a valid. This is how we can define our variables in our JavaScript variables. Thank you.